It's concentric, right?
Well, it's not doing anything concentric until you land, really. Yeah, when it's in the air, it could just be hanging there. It could just be hanging there, okay? But, I mean, yeah, you have to, but when you're standing at the top of the step, all you have to do is drop it down. Just drop it down.
And when you're doing bridging, active insufficiency, I know the hamstring is doing active insufficiency. What about
What about the gastroc? Probably not so much, because when you're bridging, you're not doing plantar flexion. Not really. You're not doing plantar flexion.
But the gastro assists with knee, it's also knee flexion.
Right, but when do you get active insufficiency? When you're doing both simultaneously. Okay, so with the plantar flex, with the gastroc, you're only doing the knee flex. Well, you're doing knee extension, really. You're doing knee extension when you bridge. Yes, sure you are. You're doing knee extension with.
It's hip extension.
Hip extension, but you're extending your knees. Look, go down. Now your knees are more flexed.
So the hamstring muscle is active insufficient.
It could be. It could get actively insufficient. When you get a cramp, that's what's happening. When you get a cramp, that's what's happening.
So for gastro, active insufficiency should be flex and plantar flexion.
Plantar flexion. Right, exactly. Okay.
So how would it?
But you are
That's extended.
extending hips, extending knees. Okay,
No,
and
flex.
the more flexed your knees are, you know, the more you're gonna cramp because they're already flexed, and then you're extending so much.
Hamstring is gonna be cramped.
And how will the rectus femoris get active insufficient?
How would your rectus femoris? Okay, well, a straight leg raise.
This one.
Yeah, straight leg raise, but usually what will prevent it from getting actively insufficient are tighter hamstrings, you know. Now, if you had really loose hamstrings and you could do one of those where you go way, way up, it could get actively insufficient, but it doesn't normally happen.
When does one joint muscle does active insufficient?
Well, again, when, okay, like for example,
Short hair of biceps.
short hair. Well, the thing is, I mean, it takes a lot more for it to become actively insufficient. Okay. But it's also right there with the joint muscles. So how are you going to really know? I mean, if the whole biceps femoris, long head, is getting actively insufficient, then it's hard to tell whether it's just the long head or if it's the long head and the short head. It's probably just going to be more of the long head, but maybe you're going to feel more. If you feel more medially, then you know it's those two. If you feel laterally, it's going to be that. Yeah, one joint muscles, it doesn't happen very often. Not as often. But two joint muscles are more effective because they have a lot more motion. There's a lot more motion, and they can be very strong. You know, you could have them contract in one direction and then do the opposite in the other direction. You know, so they tend to be stronger. They tend to be
There was
stronger.
one question on the assignment. It was a little bit confusing to me.
Okay.
When a gunshot wound in the lower extremity, which muscle is...
Okay, well, what nerve is back there?
Sciatic nerve.
I mean, it
Did
doesn't
it say
back.
posterior? Did it
No,
say
it doesn't
posterior
say.
thigh?
No.
What did it
When you
say?
discline reciprocal,
Oh,
which muscle is more affected?
No, we would love you to answer those questions and
Yeah.
post it on Blackboard for us. The home.
Yeah.
Take home quiz, yeah.
sure, we can do
You
that.
think that's richest muscle
Who did this?
when you
Okay.
discline reciprocal?
Well, actually, yeah. Usually the gluteus max is very important. Right, yeah, because remember the position where we kind of almost isolate the gluteus max, although, you know, we're extending with knee flexion, and when you're doing steps, when you're going up, you know, but that's, you're in a flex position, and then you're trying to extend too, so it really is, gluteus max needs to be strong, otherwise the person's gonna have a hard time getting up there.
The biceps femoris was there.
Huh?
The option, the biceps femoris
Okay.
was one of them. and
Rectus
the
femoris.
Yeah.
And rectus femoris.
I choose gas gluteus max.
Yeah, I think I would choose gluteus max too. I mean, otherwise, why biceps femoris? Why not all the hamstrings?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Okay.
Uh-huh.
It's not.
So if I had to pick one, I would pick gluteus max. So,
It's not.
yeah.
Can we come to the skeleton, please? That's over. You never know. It might come again.
So this is coming off of here, yeah.
Yeah, I would think that too.
What? What else?
Sun is here, right?
Well, some of these are affected. See, you have to match it up with the insertion, otherwise it's kind of difficult.
Okay, so the ellipsoid is going where?
Where you tell me.
Ellipsoid is going to the lesser tubercle.
Lesser tuberosity. Okay, so where
Lesser
is
tuberosity.
the lesser tuberosity? All the way, it comes through here and goes to the, so what's that number? What's 111? Okay, all right, and what's that?
111.
Okay. So look for the origin and the insert, just like if it's on the model, if you don't recognize it, follow it to the tendon.
Is this the one that's gonna have the?
Well, it's not going to be the one with the answers.
This is what. Can we?
It's going to be this time.
So these insertions right here.
Well,
Where's the
remember,
rotator?
there's a lot, right, there's a lot of things that it inserts on the greater trochanter, okay?
And this,
Main thing here, now, if you have this and this,
glute
okay,
minimus and glute
minimus,
medius.
and we were just talking on that drumstick where the minimus is slightly in front, and the medius should be here. So now if you find these numbers, look for them, and you should find the origins over here, right? This should be the medius, and this should be the minimus. And that's why when you palpate, that's where you're looking. You find your iliac crest and you go right here.
Oh, the
and that should be your
deprotators?
medius.
Deprotators to come right here.
What's that?
Deprotators?
That's probably one of them, okay? Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to ask you the dot for one of the external rotators because they're little anyway, okay? We're not going to ask you that, okay? Now, on a model, we might ask you to identify the muscle, but not the bigger muscles, yes. Okay?
So this one is the
Okay, so what's in the front of the femur here?
Rectus femoris.
rectus femoris.
Right, exactly. And not only that, what does that say? 122 what? C? C.
That's
Okay.
the short edge.
When you see A, B, C, that means a part of one muscle, like the quadriceps, okay? And the same thing with the hamstring, so, right.
So these are the attachment for.
Is that the rectus femoris or the vastus
Well,
intermedius?
that's well, where does the rectus femoris
On
originate?
top of the vastus intermedius.
Yes, but what bony prominence it does.
That's PIIS.
It's big. It's not as big.
PIIS.
So that's where you're going to look for the AIIS. So you're not going to be. This is vastus intermedius. Does not
Vastus
cross the hip
intermedius.
joint, and that's an origin. Red is origin. Blue is insertion.
And this is the lateralis.
AIIS. Okay, so it's probably
No. This ASI. This AIS.
Oh, I'm sorry, AIIS down here. Okay, so it's probably right here, right?
How about this thing here?
What thing that?
Okay, look, linea alba. I'm not linea alba.
Linea aspera.
Okay, so the quads are going to insert on that linea aspera, so it should be the blue. Okay, if we know quads are 122, A, B, and C, and
the
D,
next
well, then you
experience.
should find the corresponding
You understand?
blue
Because
line. Okay,
you
this
know
is an
you came in
origin.
and you know-
Okay,
You know your hypocrites.
now we
You
know
what you're doing with the person.
that
You understand? So you
vastus
can-
medialis and lateralis, they start back there and they come back around. Okay, so those are red. Okay, because they all insert here. Okay, but these are other insertions. Okay, so that means if these are insertions, that means they are hip muscles that start above the hip.
You
And
ask
it's
the
going to
patient.
insert here. So what inserts
Eliminate.
down here on the linea aspera and all that? I bet you it's going to be those adductors, adductor magnus and all those guys. Yeah.
Which one comes first? That's the big issue.
Okay.
I'm tired.